Hey, what's up? John Sonmez here from SimpleProgrammer.com. So today I'm going to answer a financial question or make a financial video about S&P 500 index fund instead of real estate. This has been sitting on my Trello board for a long time. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Trello board, you can check out the Patreon page while it's available. And there is the ability to subscribe there. We used to offer the ability to see the questions on the board. We had a lot of different options there. Right now, I believe that there's a level where you can ask me questions and I will personally answer the questions and do videos about them, a guaranteed amount per month. You can check that out while that lasts. There's also a Facebook group there and stuff like that. We'll see. That might change in the future. By the time you're watching this video, maybe Patreon won't be around. I don't know. We'll see. I'm definitely going to try and build some community stuff and have some options for you guys that really want me to answer your video, because I get a lot of questions. So I need some way to filter. And if you're willing to pay to help, promote Simple Programmer in order to get your questions guaranteed answered, we can do that. Right now, the Patreon is the way to do it. All right. But I've been sitting on this question for a while because I didn't really want to. I don't know. I wanted to give the question what it's worth here. By the way, if you want to check out all the financial videos that I do on real estate investment, whatever financial stuff, there is a playlist here about that. I talk about that a lot because, hey, I've been doing real estate investment for, is it almost 20 years? Wow, it's a long time. All right, so I did some videos on real estate investment. I do a lot on real estate investment, obviously, and I got this very, very intelligent question or email, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but essentially what the person was suggesting, his name, let me see, I think it's Tony. All right, Tony. So Tony says basically, have you considered an S&P 500 index fund instead of real estate? And this is actually pretty good timing. I guess the reason why I am answering this question now or talking about this now is because I'm just reading Tony Robbins' new book called Unshakable. You can check it out here, right? And he basically is what this person suggested here is the same advice that Tony is giving in that book. It's a really good book so far. I'll do a review on it when I finish reading the book. It's a condensed version of Money Master the Game. Essentially, it's a really long book, and it can be a little bit complicated. So I think Unshakable is probably going to be more mainstream, more reasonable for most people to read. But essentially, the strategy, what that book talks about, both of those books talk about, and what Tony is talking about here is he says, well, real estate, it's like you got to manage tenants, and it takes some skill, and it's difficult, right? I mean, so much so that I created a course on it. If you're interested, the simple real estate investment for programmers or software developers, I forget exactly what I titled it, but I did a course to show you how to get involved and do that. But it is work. It is, that's, everyone's like, that's not how you market. You don't tell people that they're going to have to do work. Yeah, I don't like their get rich quick shit. So, it's my honest course. It is work. I'm telling you, right? If you buy that course, the course, I don't know, I think it's like $500 or so. But the biggest thing is not going to be $500. I'll tell you, it's going to be the work that you're going to put in actually implementing the stuff and buying real estate. Because I'll be honest with you, real estate is not, it's not like you just trade and bam, you've got real estate and you just make money from tenants. It doesn't work that way. Now, do I still think it's the best investment? Yes, by far. I make, you can see the interview I did with, what's his name? Engineered Truth. Matt from Engineered Truth, where I talked about how I make $10,000 a month passive income from real estate. Okay, I do, and it's gold. It's solid. It's not easy to get it established, but now I hardly do anything. I just answer a few emails. That's it, honestly. So, if you're interested, check that out. But I want to talk about the alternative here and what I think. So he basically says here, Tony says, okay, so here's the other thing that you could do. Forget the mutual fund, forget all that stuff. And again, Tony Robbins' books, the Unshakable and I wonder if this is Tony Robbins. No, I don't think so. But Unshakable and Money Master the Game, he can tell you why mutual funds are bad, and why your 401k plan is bad because of the fees and all the shit in there. It's really, you're getting fleeced in mutual funds and 401k. Trust me, it's so bad. Read his books, Unshakable and Money Master the Game. There's no reason why I'm promoting it except to help you, honestly. Like, except for like you get an Amazon 50 cents or whatever when you buy a book. Yeah. All right. So the point is this, though. The strategy is a very solid strategy, mind you, is that instead of doing the mutual fund shit, that you just basically take your money and you buy the S&P 500, an index fund, an ETF essentially, that represents the S&P 500, or you could do it with the Russell or the Dow Jones. The S&P 500 is what I would go with, and it's a really solid strategy. And you just buy it and you just hold it, and you just have it reinvest. I guess you're not going to have dividends in that case, or maybe you'll have dividends if you need to reinvest right into the ETF, and that thing will just grow, and you'll benefit from compounding interest. And markets, the U.S. stock market has always risen over a long period of time. You won't have to time the market. I'm not going to get into all the details of that, but it's a very, very solid strategy for getting a solid return. I mean, maybe you're going to make 6 or 7% per year on average, which is a pretty dang decent return. You might even do better than that, right? And you're not going to get hit with all the fees for the mutual funds. There's a very small fee for the ETFs, usually for the index funds, and yeah, that's a very, very solid strategy. So I guess I would say this, okay? If I were looking for the most passive way to invest my money, right, and I'm not looking for the maximal return, okay, and I want very little risk, and I'm willing to go for the long term, right, and I want something better than 401k, better than mutual funds, it's going to be that. It'll be that strategy. It'll be S&P 500 index fund, right? And that will make sense. I'm going to point you to a book, though, okay, that is going to contradict that. And this is why I don't recommend this. This is why I don't give that advice. Because I don't know about you, but to me, mediocrity is shit. That's failing at life. Like I don't want to I want to fucking hit it out of the park, right? I know some of you do as well. So that's why I don't offer that advice. It's solid. It's solid advice. Tony, he's right. It's solid advice. Both Tony Robbins and Tony here. This is not bad. This is good. This is solid. This is better than what most people are doing. Just put it in there. Don't touch the shit and get it. I think Bogle, whatever his name, he recommends this. This is a solid strategy, and probably the majority of people should be doing this instead of the shit that they're doing in the stock market. Okay? But I'm going to recommend you another book called The Millionaire Fast Lane. The Millionaire Fast Lane. Okay, that's by MJ DeMarco. And that book would tell you that when you're doing this, you're in the slow lane. He would even say that real estate is in the slow lane. And he would say that building a business, especially computer-based business online, is the fast lane. That's how you really make the money. And he basically talks about in this book a lot, like, you want to be rich when you're old, when you can't enjoy it. Like, yeah, the compounding interest, 7% per year, when you're 60 or so, then you can buy your Corvette. No, you're not going to enjoy it, right? So he's basically saying, no, you get it on the fucking fast lane, bro. You can't just go on the slow lane shit. So that's where I'm sort of at. It's like this, okay? Most of the strategies that people are doing is shit, and mutual funds bad, right? Tony Robbins' books for learning more on that. But in the description, the links are in the description below, by the way, if you missed the annotations or you're watching on mobile. So that's like solid, okay? But that's really slow. Like, it's going to take you 30 years to make some money there, and you're not going to be filthy rich. It's just not going to happen, okay? Even if you invest a lot of money up front, it's not going to happen. You're not going to be filthy rich, okay? But it's probably the most solid thing for guaranteeing your future, better than trusting Social Security or government or anything like that. Then you've got real estate, okay? Now, real estate, I can get 20% returns on my money. I can get more than that. There's a lot, in the real estate course I mentioned before that I put up, you can turn the knob and you can go from cash flow or leverage. And if you go on the leverage side, you can get some ridiculous, over 100% returns. Honestly, I've done that on my own money. There's some risk involved, okay, and there's work involved. But real estate is going to accelerate things a lot faster, right? I'm 37. Well, I'm 36. I keep on. It's 2017. I'll be 37 this year. But I retired at like 33, mostly due to real estate. Okay, there's some other things that helped with that, with my current stuff. But Think about that. That's a lot earlier. I would not have done that with the S&P 500 strategy. It just would not have happened. Okay, but real estate allowed me to do that. But that's still slower than, and maybe I would have hit it at 40 had I not done Pluralsight, and that helped me to get a lot more cash into the real estate to accelerate things, but I was on the faster track. So that's why I'm still like, I don't want the mediocre. If you're not going to do anything, at least do the S&P 500 strategy. Totally agree with Tony there. But I would recommend for most people, honestly, it's not that hard. Again, I will point to my real estate course because I try to make it as damn simple as possible. I just give you this is how you do it, steps on this course. It's not officially released yet, so whatever, but it's all right. I'll give you the information now. But I think it's not that hard, like it's worth taking the time. I mean, let's say it took you 6 months or a year to learn how to do real estate investment, but then you could do that for the next 20 years and make a shit ton of money and retire early. Wouldn't it be worth it? How much time did you spend investing, learning programming languages, learning your skills? And that's not going to make you as much money as real estate, though. It doesn't make any fucking sense, right? You spend all this time, a lot of programmers learning programming languages and all this technical stuff, right? But then over your career, maybe you'll make $1 million or maybe a little bit more than that, right? Depending on how much you're making, maybe $2 million or $3 million, and you're going to pay half of that in taxes. But real estate could make you $10, $20, $30 million over the life of your investments with less time and effort. So why not spend some time doing that? That's my opinion on it. That's why I think it's worth it for most people. And again, I can't argue with what Tony said. He's got a lot of really good points here. He's got a really good email that I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's long, right? But again, the millionaire fast lane, if you look at that approach, doing the fast lane, that's building business. That's super fast acceleration. That's the kind of stuff I did with Pluralsight. That's the kind of stuff that I'm doing with Simple Programmer. That's, if you really want to get rich, if you really want to make money, that's the only way. I mean, real estate will get you there. But again, real estate is a 10 to 20 year commitment minimum, right? I think that you can get to, in 20 years of real estate investment, I think most people can get to early retirement, okay? I don't think it can happen in 10 unless you're really lucky, right? And you really work it and you're doing a lot of deals, you got the resources, but in 20 for sure. But the S&P 500 route, you're talking probably 30 years minimum, probably 40, and you're not gonna retire rich, whereas real estate you could. And then with the business route, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years, but that's gonna be the highest risk. But thank you, Tony. Good observation, good statement, good thing for people to think about. And make sure you check out Tony's books on this. You should be educated on this kind of stuff. This is one of those things, again, I'll point to one more video, which is the stuff that you should know. Everyone should know about their life. You should be an expert in your life. And this is one of those categories, finances. You should know this stuff better than your financial advisor because you're the one who has to do this for the rest of your life, and it impacts your life more than anything besides your health. All right, if you like this video, click that subscribe button below if you haven't already. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.